Hey everybody, it's Jason Franks. I'm back with Games for Gaijin. Olive and I are going to be talking about Monster Empire today from Freaky Design. This is a very stylish bluffing and push your luck type game with just a ton of flavor, ton of pizzazz, and is just so much fun the more people you have it with. I know Olive's excited to tackle some monsters and get the treasure. She can't even stay in my lap any longer, so let's get right to it. All right, so here we have everything inside the Monster Empire box. The box really doesn't need to be as big as it is, given the components, but the box design makes such a loud statement that in the end, I'm happy to have it on my shelf. I do want to thank Nice Game Shop for again enabling my trip to Tokyo Game Market and helping me to bring you guys so many new games from Japan and letting me share my thoughts with you on some of the best games coming out of this market here. So please check out their shop if you're interested in Monster Empire or any other games from Japan and across Asia. All right, so let's see what we got here. Monster Empire takes place in this kingdom here in which there are 6 regions surrounding the castle: the Red Volcano, Yellow Desert, Green Island, Purple Forest, Blue Labyrinth, and White Mountain. The premise behind it is that each player, of which Monster Empire supports up to 8, which is really great, is trying to collect a gem from each of the 6 regions. And the way you do that is by killing the monsters. So let's meet our little menagerie of creatures that Freaky Design has brought us in this game. So we've got our goblin, our ghost, our skeleton, our chimera, our zombie, our centaur, our unicorn, our minotaur, our vampire, the Pegasus, the golem, which is one of my favorites for the design, Cerberus, the salamander, which I also really like. It's got a real Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild vibe. The griffin. The dragon, which I think they did a great job on this piece. The sea serpent, also very cool looking. And then the special Tokyo Game Market convention exclusive, the Kraken, which comes in this see-through plastic piece, which I suppose you could probably paint, but I am horrible at painting, so I probably won't be doing that. All right, so basically how this works is you pick 6 monsters at random to start on the board. So let's just go with the skeleton, the chimera, the goblin, Cerberus, the salamander, and the golem. All right, like so. And then what you do is every monster has a little treasure icon on them that tells you how many treasures that monster is guarding. So the skeleton has 3, the goblin has 2, the chimera has 6. So we'll just use a couple of these as an example. So what you do is you pull treasures out of the little treasure bag and you place them face down next to the monster. So I am putting all those next to the monster, and you would do that for each of these monsters. Then, let's say it's my turn. I am going to give up to 3 clues about the monster I am going to fight, and only one of those clues has to be true. The clues have to be about the monster's appearance or some aspect of that monster's backstory that everybody would know. For example, like the Minotaur, I could say lives in a maze. And since everybody knows that a Minotaur guards a maze historically, that's a legal clue. You cannot, however, describe the regions that the monsters are currently in. So I couldn't, with this board setup, say guards a maze, hinting that I'm going to the goblin in the blue labyrinth. So you have to give clues about the monsters. So for example, with this one, I could say something like carries weapons, walks on 4 legs, has wings. And from that, everybody has to figure out which monster I'm going to fight. Now, before I give my clues, I will have chosen from these 6 location cards where I actually want to go. So let's say I actually do want to fight the goblin in the blue labyrinth. I will have taken that card, kept it just for my eyes, and I would have given those clues. So carries a weapon, walks on 4 legs, has wings. Only one of those clues has to be true. Now, every other player takes a few seconds to think about my clues, and then simultaneously, every player is going to place their pawn where they think I plan to go fight a monster. So let's say I was a silver pawn, I wouldn't move mine, and this was the final layout. I would reveal my card, the blue labyrinth, and this would be our current setup. Now the players that went to the incorrect monsters, the golem, the chimera, the skeleton, they would just go back to the center and not participate. The 4 of us would have a chance to now fight the goblin. The way you fight a monster is every player gets to roll the die, which is numbered 1 through 5, and then has this 5-pointed star where the 6 should be. On a 1 through 5, you just do that much damage. The 5-pointed star is a critical hit and counts for 12 damage. Between the 4 of us, we need to at least equal the value on the monster on that shield at the bottom there. So for the goblin, pretty easy to kill. He only requires a 3. So with 4 of us there, we're definitely going to equal or surpass a 3 and win the fight. And when you win, what happens is that the player whose turn it is gets to take the stack of treasures, gets to look at the stack of treasures, and gets to keep one of them. Then, blindly, every other player who joined the fight gets to take one of the remaining treasures, but they don't get to look at it. So these weak monsters, there's not a whole lot of incentive to help out the player whose turn it is because there's a good chance you won't get a treasure. Whereas if you're going to fight the salamander and say only 3 of you go, there's a real good chance that you could walk away with 2, 3, maybe even more treasures. The reason that you might get even more than that is even though the salamander has a treasure rating of 7, anytime you lose a fight to a monster, every player that was in that battle has to return one of their treasures back to that monster. So the salamander could have started with 7, but if a couple fights fail against the salamander, he could end up with a pretty hefty treasure stack next to him without changing his difficulty of 20. So there's a real push your luck because sometimes not enough people come with you because your clues were too confusing. So you really got to hope you get a 6. And very often you'll fail against some of these stronger monsters while you're looking for the last maybe 1 or 2 crystals or jewels that you need to win the game. The first person to get all 6 is going to win. There are a couple other tokens in this game aside from the jewels. Let me see if I can show you some of those here. There's 2 weapons. So let me fish around. So there's a hammer, which lets you add 1 to all of your dice rolls. There's also a axe, I believe. I didn't draw one out, but the axe lets you add 3 to all of your dice rolls. And then the last special item are the gloves. The gloves you can use once, and then you discard this treasure from the game. It lets you steal 1 treasure from every other player, and return it back to the board. So it's a good way to sort of reset the situation if somebody's running away with the game. And other than that, that's how you play. So it's a bluffing game in that you're trying to use your 1 to 3 clues to manipulate people into the most optimal scattering across the board so that you can still beat the monster but maximize how much treasure you get. And then it's a push your luck game in that at the end of the day, it is going to come down to a dice roll whether or not you beat that monster. It supports up to 8 players. I would say 10 minutes to teach, probably 15 to 30 minutes to play, depending on how many players. It does come with an English rule book that is full of lots of fun illustrations and flavor and stories about the monsters. So a lot of effort put into making a top-notch product. I love it. I think the art is amazing. The mechanics are easy to learn and fun to play. It's got exactly what I'm looking for. And so that's Monster Empire. All right, so that was Monster Empire. I think this is a really fun game. It's definitely a big box, and it's a little pricey for what you're getting. But if you have a big gaming group or you have a bunch of friends you like to play with that aren't into heavy board games, I just can't think of any other game that I've found in Japan yet that makes people laugh and smile, and they're always asking, when are we going to play that again? That was so fun. Monster Empire hits all those marks. For me, it's a huge success from Freaky Design. It's definitely one of the more fun titles I picked up at Tokyo Game Market. And honestly, it's just one that I'm really excited to bring to the table with all my different types of gamer groups. And I think you should definitely give it a shot. I know that Nice Game Shop has it up on their store right now. So definitely give it a look and try out Monster Empire.